Hello, I'm Andrew, a flooring contractor in Southern California. Today, we'll talk about the advantages of luxury vinyl floors. The disadvantages will follow in another video shortly. If you're considering purchasing luxury vinyl, please wait until you see the part 2 video of its disadvantages. First, there are two types of luxury vinyl, WPC and SPC. WPC stands for wood chip plastic composite and SPC stands for stone plastic composite. Both have a PVC printed vinyl layers and UV coating wear layer over it. WPC was introduced in the early 2010s and SPC was developed and released shortly after. SPC has addressed the drawbacks of WPC being soft to dent and prone to expansion due to heat. Nowadays, when people say luxury vinyl planks, or LVP for short, they are mostly referring to SPCs. I'll summarize the advantages of SPC in terms of installation and use. First, in terms of installation, the work environment is relatively clean. It can be cut with a knife, and even if it is cut with a saw, the sawdust does not scatter far and only falls around the saw. This is great for environment if the job site is occupied. Cleaning is also easy after all the installation work is done. Once, we were installing SPC in a new housing complex and the homeowner liked our work because our job site was clean, while the other contractor across the street was messy. It wasn't because we worked cleanly, but simply because we were installing SPC and the other installer was installing laminate. The second advantage of installation is when you have to do the stairs. In some cases, the threads are wider than the entrance, as in this photo. Even without these side panels, there are cases where the walls or sideboards protrude, so you have to scratch the walls to install them. However, SPC, especially WPC, being flexible, it is easier to pass through tight spaces like this. I remember being so happy when I installed WPC in such an environment for the first time. Lastly, as mentioned earlier, the flooring can be cut with a knife, saving time. This is particularly advantageous in the modern 3-story houses, where placing the saws on the first or second floor would require frequent trips up and down for each cut. Of course, only simple 90-degree cuts can be made with a knife, but it's still quite helpful. There are also advantages in terms of use. First, we have to talk about the waterproofness of it, even though it cannot be called waterproof anymore. More details will be in the next video. When SPC was first released, it came with the padding attached. It was claimed that no additional underlayment was needed because it is waterproof. Customers loved it who hated laminate's weakness to water. Most of the households with the kids or pets were going for SPC. 90% of our installation were SPCs in the past 10 years. In one instance, SPC flooring was fully submerged in water for several days at post-installation. After being thoroughly dried, the flooring showed no signs of swelling or buckling. It was so impressive. However, there was another issue. Here in Southern California, tap water contains lots of white minerals. Even after drying, the white minerals stuck to the surface could not be removed. While the boards themselves may remain undamaged, removing the minerals that accumulate on the surface was challenging. So even though it's okay for temporary water exposure, we still don't want to leave any water unattended. Secondly, because it's flexible, it settles down to undulated subfloor. In Southern California, there's no perfect flat surface for the subfloor. When I asked the ChatGPT, it required to be within 1/4 of an inch over 10-foot span for residential. If the undulation is smooth, there may be some initial flex, but after about 2 months, it settles down to the floor. Then it feels solid, although it is a floating floor. So it is a good alternative for those who disliked the slight flex of a thin laminate from the old days. The third advantage of SPC is that the boards are solid. However, this advantage only applies to SPC and not WPC. I remember installing WPC in the kitchen and getting a dent when I moved the refrigerator. So I had to lift it to move it carefully or put a board underneath it to protect the floors. SPC doesn't have that worry. However, it's still a good idea to lift to move furniture whenever possible to avoid scratches. Furniture movers like this help you move your furniture easily without damaging the floor. I'll put a link in the comments and the description below. Finally, due to the advanced printing technology, once installed, it's hard to distinguish between real wood and printed vinyl visually. Moreover, the registered embossing creates a 3D pattern that is very precise and detailed. It is hard to tell the visual difference from real wood floors. However, if you walk on it barefoot, you can feel the texture of the vinyl surface. Today, we looked at the advantages of luxury vinyl planks, especially those represented by SPC. It is one of the most viable options in the market. However, several drawbacks need to be taken into consideration when using it. We will cover those in the following video. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye.